There was a good article in the Wall Street Journal how Toyota is positioning its Prius plug-in in the battle for EV share. It got me reflecting on the Volvo SC60 or S60, I should say, sedan. That's also a plug-in hybrid. And as I thought about telling that story, it got me reflecting on my journey from the first car I owned, which was a 1965 Volkswagen Beetle, to my current 2023 Volvo S60. Now, granted, the Beetle only weighed 1,500 pounds versus this 4,500 pound sedan. The Beetle had 40 horsepower, got 25 miles on a gallon, which was great in the day. And this is the late 70s, so I was a college student. Whereas the 23 Volvo S60 gets almost 100 miles on a gallon because I drive it mostly in plug-in mode. And that was the gist of the Wall Street Journal article, that 80–90% of Americans drive their cars less than 40 miles a day. Therefore, having a plug-in hybrid is pretty much the same as having a plug-in. Plus, you don't have to worry about range anxiety, and I do take long trips periodically to Long Island, Boston, Washington, etc. So as I thought about kind of how things have changed, it got me thinking of the cars I've owned, and this is where it all started. The 1972 Dodge Dot. My parents owned this, learned how to drive on it. Uh, People of my generation know that the 72 Dodge Dot or the 70s Dodge Dot was the driver ed car. So I have many fond memories of taking driver's ed around the crowded streets of downtown Brooklyn, in death-defying traffic with 5 high school kids in the car and a hungover high school teacher. Quite the adventure. Taught me everything I needed to know about driving. But this car is where it all started. Lost my virginity in this car. Had a wonderful slant 6 engine that was also easy to repair, tune, time, do the things that you don't do with cars anymore. But the Volkswagen Beetle, this really was my first car that I decided to buy for 400 bucks. It was a bargain, although it did have 125,000 miles on it. I put another 125,000 miles on it. I fixed everything, including the floor was rusted out. I put in a new floor. Just amazing how this car, any tinkerer, being an engineering student, an electrical engineering student, you can easily see how being a tinkerer would be right up my alley. Got me back and forth to college, Brooklyn. I used to go on the LIE 60 miles an hour, and maybe you could argue driving this little go-kart at 60 in reflections to what we have today with airbags and all that was probably unsafe at any speed. My dad also owned a 69 Volkswagen bus, which was a great party vehicle for my fraternity buddies on the weekends. During the week, he delivered pies and cakes with this guy, although we once packed the whole family in, went upstate New York, picked apples, and blew out the engine on the way back. And the thing we learned is it's tremendously underpowered for the amount of volume this wonderful car had. But the years go on. You graduate engineering school. 1980, I joined Hewlett Packard. I was a technical sales representative, and one of the benefits you got was a company car. Back in the 80s, very common for salespeople to have company cars. The 1980 Malibu was a great car for that purpose. In fact, my colleagues and I would call each other the Malibu Kids. And HP was like the Apple, LinkedIn, Google of the day, in that after a couple of years there, you got another company car, and you could pay basically the difference between the Malibu and old Cutlass Supreme Brougham. I think it was half the difference, and basically upgrade your car. So I had a powder blue version of this 1980 something Cutlass Supreme Brougham, another nice car. Well, then HP signed some big computer deal with Ford, sold a lot of mini computers to Ford, and uh, we were now limited just to a Ford LTD. So our only decision on a car was what color. That's not a bad deal. I mean, somebody's paying for a brand new car every few years, paying for the gas. I wasn't complaining. HP stuck with Ford all the way through the Ford Taurus, which really saved Ford, really put it back in business of making sedans, which they don't do anymore, and competing with the Toyota Camry, etc. But the Taurus was another great car. Where I ran into trauma in my car life was I changed careers, became a vice president of sales for a small New Jersey company called Chicago Miniature Lamp, and there was no company car there. I had to actually make a decision on what car to get. So after 15 years of HP deciding what I was driving, I struggled and I thought, oh, well, what car shall I get? And Ford was in decline at the time, so I got a Toyota Avalon, and that's a wonderful sedan. I think they're out of production now, but this is where I learned about the hybrids, and I think I really fell in love with the power plant, the hybrid. Big, comfortable, plush, fat sedan, got like 35 miles on a gallon. Never need brakes. If you step on the brake, you'd be recharging the battery as opposed to burning off the excess heat in the brake pads and the tires. So really, the Japanese taking the Prius and putting it power plant upsized and appropriately for the Avalon was really a great driving experience. But this car was a straight hybrid. You didn't have to plug in any electricity. It just kind of just took the forward momentum of the car and used that to charge the battery. Now, onto my elevator explanation of how hybrid works. Basically, you got a standard gas engine in it, you got an EV in it, you got this lithium ion battery, which on a standard hybrid, you don't plug it in. On a plug-in hybrid, they give you a big battery, so you could plug it in and get like 40 miles of EV. And you really get the best of both worlds in this. You get the economy of an EV plus the power and responsiveness of the gasoline engine without any worries or range anxiety, something I suffer from. I had a hybrid Lincoln MKZ too, and that's an interesting story. Ford basically cross-licensed the hybrid technology from Toyota, and in return they got Ford's exhaust and air pollution control technology. I don't know who got the best, which deal there. So when you drive a plug-in hybrid where you get 40 miles of electric range, you can pretty much drive it for weeks if you're not doing any long distance driving without using any gasoline, without using the engine, and just using the hybrid power plant, doing your part to reduce your carbon footprint, being politically correct. Or if you need to get on the highway in a hurry, you slam on that gas and everything turns on. The 300 horsepower four-cylinder engine, the EV, you're going 0 to 60 in less than 4 seconds. It's really an amazing amount of acceleration when you need it. But day to day, you're kind of getting the balance, performance, and efficiency of where your gas engine works best, where the EV works best, and kind of you have computers in the car deciding when you're going to use both. So it really, between the computer technology, industrial control technology, the gas technology, the EV, it's really a great testament to what mankind has developed. My first recharge was with the Volvo XC60. Now that was a great car, and if you like SUVs, and I like the SUV, I like being higher up, easy to get in and out of, etc. It only because it's heavy, I only got about 20 miles on the EV, although I think the new version gets 30. So when this lease was up, I decided to try this sedan because I really like the power plant, as you may have noticed. I like how Volvo took a four-cylinder engine, which was in my Beetle. My Beetle had a four-cylinder engine, not like this one. It was not turbocharged, it was not supercharged, but basically you could extract 300 horsepower out of a four-cylinder engine. It has a really nice EV power plant of 150 horsepower, and then a battery that's big enough to use it as an EV. So this car basically has the acceleration that passes by some of the Porsches out there. Just an amazing engineering feat. If you think I'm shilling for Volvo, I have a certain warm spot for them, as I always thought the Volvo issues of safety and their advertising and all, I thought that was marketing bullshit. Until one day I'm driving to Brooklyn across the, or approaching the Goethals Bridge, and that tractor trailer down the highway rear-ended me and spun my car, so I was going down the highway sideways, blowing out tires and stuff, until I came to rest slamming into a guardrail. Airbags deployed. The amazing thing about this accident was I walked away from it totally uninjured. I went on a business trip the next day, no aches and pains. The only injury was a little bit of a secondary burn on my wrist from the airbag. Pretty remarkable. So this is where I stand today. I'm driving a sedan, which, as I say, it really feels like it masquerades as an EV because I could go for weeks without really needing to use the uh, gas engine, although quite frankly, that's really not literally true, as when I get on the highway or I need acceleration, I pass by the time when only the EV would work and my gasoline engine fires up. So very happy with this choice. I think until America has a better EV infrastructure, this is probably, in my opinion, if you're one of those folks like me with range anxiety, the way to go, be it a Toyota Prius or a Volvo XC60.